Hey, what's up? My name is Nigel, and as you can see, this shot looks absolutely horrible, and it sounds horrible. And you know what? I'm using a Panasonic GH3 that was made like back in 2013, and a pretty cheap lens on there, and that's probably why this shot looks so bad. So I think I should just go out and buy a new camera, and that's going to make this shot look so much better. Just kidding. Buying a new camera isn't going to fix this shot. The fact that this shot looks horrible is the fact that I have it lit absolutely horribly, and I made a bunch of rookie mistakes, like shooting with a way too closed down aperture, shooting with my ISO way too high, and not white balancing properly. And also the lighting in here is absolutely horrible. I have practicals on, and I have this one LED light pointed right at my face. These, in my opinion, are mistakes that probably every new filmmaker makes, and so I just want to show you that even with an older camera like mine, you can still create a really great image, and you can go from looking like this to looking like to this. So I did a video similar to this a while back. You can check that out right here. But I basically showed how you can take an image from looking really bad to looking pretty decent by just switching the lighting up a little bit and doing a little bit of color grading and obviously bringing in some better audio. So that's what I'm going to do in this video, and it's going to be kind of like an updated version of that older video that I did. So let's fix this shot, and I'll show you that even with an old camera like my GH3 and a relatively cheap lens, I'm using the DJI 15mm f1.7, you can create a really good looking image. So first thing we need to fix is the audio, because this sounds horrible. I'm using the internal mics of my GH3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this really cheap Aspen Stereo HQ lav mic, and I'm just going to clip it to my shirt. I will see just how big of a difference a cheap little $30 mic like this can make to your audio. Alright, so now we're using the Aspen Stereo HQ lav mic, and doesn't the audio just sound so much better, even just with a little $30 lav like this? I'm not using any special adapter, I'm just plugging it straight in to my Panasonic GH3 with the audio levels turned all the way down. And as you can see, or I guess as you can hear, the audio sounds way better. So step one, get the audio better, and people can even forgive the horrible image that you've created with your camera. So I think the next thing we need to do is change some settings in the camera. And right now I am shooting at, I think, like f11, so there is no depth of field or separation between me and the background. So I'm going to switch my lens back to f1.7, and I'm going to change my ISO back down to its native ISO, which is also the lowest on the GH3, which is ISO 200. So let's change that right now. All right, so there we go. We're back at ISO 200, so you shouldn't be seeing any grain in the image anymore. And we're at f1.7, so you can kind of see there's some little bit of background separation and some bokeh going on. The next thing I think we need to do is take those practical lights down. And in my studio, I actually have those lights controlled by a dimmer. So I'm just gonna turn those down right about there. As you can see, those lights were casting a lot of light on the background, and now my background is really dark. So before we do anything else, we do need to fix the white balance on my camera. Right now my face is kind of blue and it looks really bad. So most cameras, it's pretty easy to set the white balance. The way I do it is I just go into the custom white balance setting on my GH3, and I find something that's white, like this white piece of paper, and I white balance it that way. Super easy. All right, so now we're white balanced, and honestly, this is starting to look a lot better. So now I think we need to focus on my key light, and my key light is pretty harsh, and it's kind of creating like one dimension on my face. You can even see how harsh those shadows are if you just kind of hold one of your fingers up to your face. Those are pretty harsh shadows and not really that appealing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna soften those shadows up by using a simple umbrella. These can be bought on Amazon for like $7 or $8. And this little RX8 is on a really cheap light stand. So I'm gonna put this umbrella on the umbrella bracket that I have on the light stand. So I'm also gonna take this light and I'm gonna raise it up a little bit so it creates more of a drop shadow on my chin, which is gonna create a lot more of a flattering light on your face. All right, so now we got our key light with the umbrella, and if you hold a finger up to your face, you can see how much softer the shadows are. And since it's at a higher angle, it's creating a nice drop shadow here on my chin, which is a lot more flattering on my face. All right, one last thing I'm gonna do with my lighting is I do have one other practical on right over here, which is creating some fill on my face, which is can be okay, but I'm actually gonna turn this off because I wanna go for a little bit more of a dramatic look. But if you wanted to keep a shot like this, having a little bit of fill can sometimes help, but I'm actually gonna turn this practical off, and it's just to the right of the frame. All right, so now we have our key light and we got some practicals, but what I am noticing is that I am completely disappearing into the background with this black shirt on. So what I'm actually gonna do is put something on that'll help separate me from the background a little bit more. All right, so now I have something else on that's gonna help separate me from the background. So instead of wearing just a plain black shirt, you can actually see that there's some color here, and you'll see the difference between me and the background. But something else that you can do to help separate your subject from the background is to have something called a hair or a kicker light. What I'm actually gonna do is use another RX8 light, and I'm gonna use this as my hair light. So one thing that's kind of cool about these RX8s, which you'll see in the video that I did for them, but you can actually manipulate these lights and bend them a lot, which is pretty cool because it's kind of like built-in barn doors for your lights, and you can help create more of a narrow shape of light so that it'll just hit where you want it to hit instead of spilling all over the place. So I'm gonna turn this on. I don't want it to be too bright, but right around there I think is good. I'll just put it slightly out of frame. And there we go. We have a little bit of a hair light that's also kind of bleeding right here and just helping me pop out from the background a little bit more. So I think right now we are at a really good spot to just call it good, but there is something else that you can do just to add a little bit more of interest into your shot, and that is adding some color. So I'm gonna actually try to bring some color into my shot with this little Falcon Eyes Pocket Light F7. Now, I just did a video on this light, and you can check that out right there if you want to, but yeah, this is a little RGB light, and I'm gonna use it to kick on to my background just to add a little bit of color to my shot. But you don't have to use something like this. This is a little expensive. It's like 140 bucks. If you wanted to go super cheap, you could just get another $50 RX8 lights that I'm using right now as my key and my hair light, and just get some binder dividers and use them as gels, and then just gel your light and put that onto your background instead. But since I have this, I'm gonna use it. So I'm gonna set it to teal and kind of light up the background a little bit just to add some color into this shot. So this is basically the final shot. As you can see behind me, I have the little Pocket Light F7 creating a little bluish teal color in the back of my shot. And honestly, this looks pretty good. And if you compare it with what I started out with, this is just absolutely night and day. As you can see, even with an older camera like my GH3 and a pretty cheap lens, you can still produce a really nice looking image. And that's just kind of what I really wanted to encourage you with, is that even if you have an older camera or a cheaper camera, you can still get really good images out of it if you just add some lighting and some better audio. And you don't have to go crazy. Like this lav mic that I'm using is only 30 bucks, and these two lights that I'm using as a key and a hair light are only 50 bucks each. And like I said, you could get another one and have an entire lighting kit for about 150 bucks and just, you know, use some gels if you wanted to add some different color. But that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about, is that like so much of making a good video is how it's lit and how it sounds. It's not necessarily so much about what camera you're shooting with. And honestly, a better camera wouldn't have fixed that shot before, but I was able to fix it with some really cheap lights, and that's gonna cost you a lot less than going out and buying a brand new camera. So I hope that was encouraging and helpful in some way. If it was, it'd be really cool if you hit the like button, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. As always, there's links in the description to a bunch of gear that I use and recommend, and also a link to my Patreon and Selfie accounts. And if you dig the music that I use in my videos, I actually am an ambassador for MusicBed, and I can't stress enough how much I love MusicBed. They just have such a huge library of such amazing music by awesome composers and artists, and I've never been able to not find what I'm looking for when I go to MusicBed. And I've used a lot of other subscription services, and MusicBed is by far the best that I've ever used. So definitely go check out that link. You can get a 30-day free trial. Anyways, you can click right over here if you want to check out some more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.